Welcome to Higher Impact, where we're inspiring your now and empowering your future. I'm Teresa Hairston. As we move into the next season, we celebrate the power of Black history, especially during this month of February, and we also look toward the future. For centuries, the Black church has been a source of inspiration and empowerment. From pulpiteers who deliver life-changing messages to members who achieve greatness, faith is foundational to Black culture. But in these changing times, where are we headed? Statistically, African Americans were hit harder by the pandemic than any other communities, and the church has been challenged to deal with a multitude of issues, from mental health to food insecurity. On this episode, we'll hear from two national leaders, Dr. Kip Banks Sr., the senior pastor of East Washington Heights Baptist Church of Washington, D.C., and editor of the Black Church Weekly, a national online publication, and Dr. W. Franklin Richardson, senior pastor of Grace Baptist Church in Mount Vernon, New York, and the chair of the Conference of National Black Churches. But first, we'll take a look at Black women in business, a major topic of concern. We'll talk to Dr. Teresa Goggins, a ministry leader with over 20 years of experience and founder of two mentoring programs, Face to Face and Open Door Mentoring, where she instructs women at all stages of life to accomplish their God-given purpose in the earth. Dr. Teresa Goggins, welcome to Higher Impact.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, this is the season where we talk about so many things post-pandemic, hopefully. But I mean, women in business, and I know you mentor people to be their best and to do their best to operate in excellence. What's going on now with women in business? What are the concerns?
Absolutely. Two words: adaptability and accountability.
Okay.
Adaptability, being able to adapt to our new environment. We're in this pandemic environment and things are changing daily. And so as women in business and women in leadership, we have to be adaptable to new ways of doing business, all the different technologies that are out there. So we have to be on point when it really comes to pushing people into their purpose, making sure I call it leading forward. Learning how to lead in advance before the team gets there. And so sometimes we got to get up late in the night and get plans together before everyone else get there. So this is a trying time, but I believe as great leaders we'll be able to do it.
Adaptability, and the other one?
Accountability.
Okay, talk about that.
Being accountable to what you've been called to do.
Wow.
I mean, it's important that we are very vision focused, that we understand vision well. And once we're vision carriers, we have to know how to carry that out with integrity and great character. I think it's an imperative for women today in business and in ministry leadership is that we come to the table with the accountability that we offer. We know what we offer at the table, and that where our presence is definitely needed there.
Now, you have been mentoring women, and I assume for over 20 years in your mentoring.
25 plus.
Wow. You have been helping people who are both in corporate scenarios as well as entrepreneurial scenarios.
Absolutely.
These days with, so many challenges financially, how does a person who has a vision to start a business, how do they move forward when there's such a lack of finances, or seemingly there is?
Absolutely. And one of the things we encourage when it's time to, because purpose don't have an ordained time, you just have to start. And so one of the things is not to focus on costs, but to focus on the destination that's at hand. Almost anything you do is going to have costs behind it, but really don't make that your number one factor, but also just understanding getting the gist of where your vision is going, and kind of like, we can do this if we do the processes and steps correctly. So
okay, so let's talk about processes and steps. That's you hit it right there.
Absolutely.
So how do I get started? If I want to start a business right now, in spite of all that's going around, I believe God has given me this charge, and I've got to move forward. How do I get started?
Absolutely. It's like faith. You can't see it. It's faith. You just have to step out in something and just believe that something's going to be there to balance you. So I get started. Listen, the first thing is to write the vision down, make it plain. You got to know what your purpose, and find out what that need really. I talk about markets, begin the idea of who you're going to sell to. A lot of people want to do a business, but where's your market? who are you selling to, who are you targeting, and so forth. But just write it down. Do that little silent prayer before the Father, put it out there, and then just call someone like me to say, hey, you could do this, and get that power of agreement. And you would be surprised things, but start by writing and making it plain, making sure that you know the exact direction that you're going into. And from that, things begin to happen.
Wow. Okay, so for women who are in corporate settings,
Yes.
a lot of people are quitting their jobs.
Absolutely.
Is that a smart thing to do right now?
Well, you know what? I always say, I stayed in corporate America about 23 years. And I always say, work your passion while working your day job. And so it's a combination of two. If you have the ability to do that. I was raising a family at the same time in ministry and working in corporate America, traveling everywhere in corporate sales. So I had the opportunity to see it on all different facets. So one of the things that I would suggest to make sure that you got that little nest egg there, and especially in an environment like this where finances can go up and down so rapidly. So I would say, to stay in your job if you have business, but very special if you have things connected, such as children, college tuition, things of that nature connected to it. Stay until you work your passion out. You may be working like 24 hours a day, but you got to leave that 8-hour job and spend 4 in your passion. So that's important.
So finally, this is some great advice you're giving. And I know you are a great mentoring and just helping so many people. But, one of the things that we're dealing with right now is mental health.
Yes.
Wow. It's such a challenge, and especially for women, because we're such nurturers and we're so close to our emotions. How do we move forward when we feel like everything is like going left and wrong, and people are dying and sick? And how do we move forward?
It's a lot. This environment that we live in is a lot. But be anxious for nothing. But through everything, through prayer and supplication, and make your request known unto God. I think it's important as women, and because we have so many different stress factors, the children, the husband, the family, everything is on our plate, that you really understand that you got to start early and stay up late.
Wow.
And stop being so lazy or complacent. Can I say that?
Oh my goodness.
Dr. Hairston, can I say just some of us are just lazy through the pandemic. We started eating, we got, we kind of laxed on our exercise. So you got to really, really make up in your mind that you're going to be consistent, just like you were post-pandemic, before anything happened.
Yes.
And it's an extra push, it is for all of us. So I'm not saying I'm exempt from it, because I had to push myself as well. But you got to make that mind up and say, regardless of what the stress is every day, I'm going to at least accomplish this. One of the things I do, I write down a list every morning.
You write a list every morning?
Every morning.
Wow.
And I have a midpoint and at the end of the day. Some things I only get out of 10 things, I got 4 things accomplished. But I don't beat myself down about it. I got 4 things accomplished. Teresa, you need to try 6 tomorrow.
Okay.
But most times I never get all 10 things, but I give myself a list every day. And when I'm getting off track, I look down that list and it kind of redirects me to get back on track.
Make your list. Okay, make a list right now.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for being my guest.
you.
And the information you shared is priceless. God bless.
God bless you, Dr. Harris.
We'll be back. Dr. Kip Banks Sr. is the senior pastor of the East Washington Heights Baptist Church of Washington, D.C., and a senior consultant with Values Partnerships, the nation's largest African-American social impact firm. He's also the editor of the Black Church Weekly. Dr. Banks, welcome to Higher Impact.
Thank you. It is truly an honor and a pleasure to be with you, Sister Hairston, and give God all glory, all honor, and all praise.
Wonderful. So I know that Values Partnerships is doing phenomenal things to get the word out. Tell me why you all exist and what your mission is.
Well, Values Partnerships is a social impact agency. We're actually the nation's largest African American social impact agency, founded by Joshua Dubois. Joshua was Barack Obama's, he was the head of the faith-based office for neighborhood partnerships under Barack Obama, and developed some great relationships And what he realized was that he could do a great deal of good on behalf of the Lord as he connected major leading institutions with black churches. And so we're talking about institutions like Google, institutions like DoorDash and Walmart. And so the overall goal is to help the churches to be effective change agents. The black church has always stood at the vanguard of efforts to make a difference in the lives of African Americans in our entire nation. And what Values Partnerships does is it helps churches and faith leaders to connect with institutions to help enhance life for African Americans and all people.
So I know that you've been doing a lot of work, especially in this time of the pandemic and health information, not misinformation, because there's so many challenges with that. Where are we going in the next post-COVID season? What is the prevailing message that you all need to get out to the world?
Well, one, talking about our partners, we partner with the National Ad Council. We're partnering with AARP. There are a number of organizations that have resources. One of our biggest campaigns was with the National Ad Council, and our message is to get the facts. And so we have a toolkit to share with black churches on getting the facts. We also are working on a Sunday school curriculum as well to share with black churches. And so the message is to get the facts. We know that Pookie and Ray Ray may have a message about, why, don't get vaccinated or don't, get the booster, but we have to get the facts. And as people of faith, we know that the word tells us to study, to show ourselves approved unto God. And so, that is our focus. And we work not only with these major national corporations, we also work with the Black church leadership, the leadership of the Progressive National Baptist Convention and the African Methodist Episcopal Convention, to partner to spread the good news. It's always about the good news, the gospel of Jesus Christ.
What are you finding to be some of the challenges with sharing this information and getting the facts out?
Well, frankly, the biggest challenge, especially for the black church, is just survival. My heart has been broken. I've had so many ministerial colleagues who passed away. And so, we're dealing with, as clergy persons, we're trying to, we have to take care of our flock. I have a flock here at my church, East Washington Heights Baptist Church in Washington, D.C., and I had a funeral yesterday. So far in 2022, I've done 4 funerals. Our people are dying. Life expectancy for African Americans has gone down, and so we're just dealing with survival. That's a challenge, just surviving. As clergy, as churches, as a people, we are really going through with this pandemic, and not just with the pandemic, with the resurgence of racism and efforts to turn the clock back with our voting. And not just voting, we're even talking about teaching Black history in the schools. The governor of Virginia and down in Florida, they're banning critical race theory, just even being able to talk about what happened with slavery and how it impacts us today. And so on every front, we have so many challenges. And so we need all the resources that we can get to help. And that's our goal, is to provide those resources.
So what resources, how does your organization provide resources, and do you provide them to individuals or to institutions?
Well, we provide resources. One way that we provide the resources is through our weekly Black Church Weekly email blog that we send to thousands of faith leaders across the country. And in this weekly email, we have cutting edge resources from some of the leading thought leaders. For example, last week we shared a voting rights toolkit. We have many toolkits to help churches to understand, for example, with voting, what's happening with voting, talking points about what they can do, what they cannot do, what's happening in each of the states. And this particular piece is put on by Dr. Barbara Williams Skinner, who has been a longtime advocate and expert on voting and the need for churches to educate themselves, to educate our congregants, but also to get the souls to the polls. And so this toolkit is invaluable. an invaluable resource for every pastor, for every lay leader, for every church, every convention. We want them to have this toolkit because voting is important. We're in Black History Month, and we know that our people died for the right for their right to vote.
So, how does someone get this toolkit or get in touch with Black Church Weekly?
They can certainly go to the Values Partnerships website. They can email me at kip@valuespartnerships.com. They can contact sojourners.com. This is a partnership that is put on by a number of organizations. And so those are ways so that they can get this resource.
Thank you so much, Dr. Banks, and we look forward to more Black Church Weekly. God bless.
The Impact Network wants to connect with you, and the easiest way is through our new mobile-friendly website. Simply go to www.watchimpact.com, and a world of information and inspiration will be at your fingertips. Live streaming is always available on your desktop, plus take us with you anywhere. You'll be able to connect directly with any of the Impact programmers and get more information on concerts, crusades, church services, and more. If you are ever in need, we are there for you. We have a 24/7 prayer team ready to agree for any need. Also, access our blog site. In it, you'll find inspirational words and teaching from some of the most anointed voices today. Supporting your Impact Network is easier than ever. Just access the donate button, and you're only a few clicks away from changing someone's life forever. Thank you for your prayers and financial support. We are the Impact Network.
Dr. Franklin W. Richardson is the chair of the Conference of National Black Churches, an organization comprised of the national leadership of the 7 largest historically Black denominations in America, representing over 20 million people and 30,000 congregations. Dr. Richardson, welcome to Higher Impact.
Well, I'm delighted to be here with you and to share in this powerful moment.
Thank you, thank you. Now, I know that you are doing a lot of things. You work with Virginia Union as the chair there of the board. You also are CNBC. Tell me about CNBC specifically, what you are doing, because I know you guys are celebrating 30 years, right?
Yeah, actually a little more than that. But the point is, what has happened, CNBC is really expanding. So we, aside from our get out the vote efforts during the 2020 election and the effort that we did in Georgia, we hired 60 people in Georgia to help get out the vote. But since then, we have initiated a program that is designed to empower clergy to participate and be informed as it relates to the COVID virus. We have a partnership with CDC. We just completed our first year. It's been refunded. We've trained over 3,000 pastors across denomination lines. You know, CNBC represents 6 historical Black denominations and over 30,000 congregations.
Yes.
So we targeted to do 10% of the pastors, and we had training for them, how to break down the stigmas, how to overcome the conspiracies, how to understand the science. Each pastor took a 3 to 4 hour course on it, and we supplemented them resources to open up pop sites and advance vaccinations in their communities. We put pop-up sites and vaccination sites and testing sites all over the country. We're working with several collaborations of African Americans and also with the National Council of Churches, where we are getting geared up, even while we have the vaccination program going on. We have a real heart for making sure our people vote. We lobbied for the Voter Rights Act with National Action Network, which I also serve as chair.
Okay.
And we tried to do all we could to get that passed. As you know, it didn't pass. That means that we got to do extra work. We cannot be defeated because the legislation did not pass. We've got to get every church, every pastor who's willing to mobilize in their communities and get this vote out for the midterm election. We've got to start educating the population right now, starting actions right now, just like we did in 2020. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Black church.
Yes.
Where are we now? Because I know that before, and really you sit in a very, very strategic position, because the Black church has been even challenged to be relevant at a whole nother level, with mental health challenges, with food insecurity, with voter rights. Is the church able to be all that it needs to be in this season? And how?
Well, the truth is that some churches, some local congregations will not survive. Some have already gone away. But those who do survive have got to reimagine ministry. We got to look at the realities that we are facing. We don't know what the worship patterns are going to be going out of the pandemic. After all, we spent 100 years or more telling people that they needed to go to church to go to heaven. And then for 2 years, we told them they could not go to church. And so, how do you reorient people back to that? How do you take advantage of the technology era and advance your ministry? How do you stop being so locally focused? Those are real challenges that we're going to have to. How do you rethink ministry? How do you approach the challenges, and do you see them as opportunities? So yes, the church has got to be prayerfully evaluating the opportunity. I call it not the challenge, the opportunity to do ministry in a different way than we've done it before. Most of us will not ever be able to not be virtual again. My local congregation, a good segment of my viewing audience comes from other states and outside the country. So how do you begin to address that? Like, you begin we're hiring a virtual minister whose job will stay in contact with people who are watching us virtually and keep that relationship going. In many ways, it's blessed the church because it expanded our resource pool with people from Australia and Ghana and Japan and Ireland, where we never had before. So it's an opportunity, but it's one that's going to have to be rethought by churches. One of the things we had to do at Grace, we pivoted real quickly from building a new building. We were in the midst of construction almost. And when the pandemic came, we changed. We went and redid the existing building and decided to build 200 units of condo for the community and build a family life center on the first level. So we had to rethink. We've been in building fund mode for 15 years, but we had to rethink it because we don't know what the patterns are going to be. I don't know if people are going to go to church like they used to. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether we need all the seats we have. So this is a time of real thinking. What does evangelism look like? How do we introduce Christ to people in an effective and personal way? How do we keep personal relationships going? One of the things we had to do when the pandemic came, we had to put our hands around the congregation and replace the brick and mortar with relationships.
Wow.
It may be that we became more akin to Christ's Christ's model for ministry outside having no building than we were when we were in the building.
Thank you, Dr. Richardson. As usual, you are innovative, creative, and just a great thinker, and I appreciate your time. Thank you for the privilege of your time. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. I look forward to seeing you same time, same place next week. But until then, please connect with me on my website at teresahairston.com or on all social media platforms at Dr. T. Hairston. As we close tonight's show, let's celebrate our rich gospel heritage with Minister Kurt Carr.
Under the beaming golden rays of the motherland's scorching sun, we sang. Fueled and frenzied by the hypnotic syncopation of the kunga and the djembe drum, we sang. Then, somehow we sang, shackled in the dark belly of slave ships, a song that would continue for months over the angry ocean on an agonizing journey to a strange land. We sang on plantations, enslaved by lifelong servitude, longing for our beloved motherland. Songs kept us from being consumed by our plight. we sang. Planning our escape, we sang songs encrypted with our plot to freedom. Steal away to Jesus. And we fled in the night with Harriet, boarding a railroad underground. We sang all the way to Freedom Land. A song led a movement as we marched with Martin and Rosa in a quest for justice and equality. We sang so loud and so strong till unjust laws had to change, till water fountains were desegregated. We sang until hatred could no longer reign. Then, with immeasurable pride, we sang along with Queen Aretha, while history shaped, quaked, and crumbled, as our brother and sister stood on the stairs of the Capitol, being sworn into presidency of the United States. Young people, we cannot be silent. You must sing like never before. For you see, songs are interwoven into the very fabric of our heritage and our future. So we must stand tall on the shoulders of our resilient, unbreakable forefathers. Never forget the greatness that resides within you.